Yo guys, what's up and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats. My name is Finto. Tonight I'm joined by Hoffman and Zebrewolf. We're going to be talking about Miss Marvel episode 3. If you're new to the channel, make sure you just hit the subscribe button, hit like on the video, and let us know in the comments below what you think of the episode and how the season's going so far for you. Guys, what's up?
Yo, Miss Marvel. Am I weird that I feel like Miss Marvel is surrounded by so many exciting episodes of things this week that just kind of like feels a little mid? Like it's not even like it went down in quality or anything, but it just doesn't feel like exciting at all this week. And I think it's because the same week we got like the finale of Kenobi, we got a huge episode of The Boys, the Umbrella Academy launch, and we just kind of have Miss Marvel just like, okay, here it is. Like it's still good, but like it's not, it's not over the top and not pushing things like the other shows.
Yeah, I agree with that. It seems like we get like this spoiler, like not spoiler, but this like smorgasbord. I think, is that how you say it? Of like
Sure, yeah. I'll take
content.
smorgasbord.
I like it.
Of different content, and you got all this stuff, and then you get the charcuterie of like Miss Marvel, and you're like, I kind of want like this big plate right here,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
so it kind of like everything else overshadowed Miss Marvel this week, and it was really tough to even remember a lot of the things that happened in Miss Marvel, as opposed to like the finale to Kenobi, the hero gasm with the boys, and those were shocking, those were intense, and this one was more so like, oh, that's nice, and so like you feel that, and it just like it kind of sucks that there's so much good content, and then you get Miss Marvel, and it's like it's I agree with Hoffman, it's so good, but it's just not better than those two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, and I wasn't even thinking about any other content for the week either. I know I had already seen the Kenobi finale before I watched this show, but I think like this episode, even just taking everything else out of it, just wasn't really it for me. Like when they were doing the whole wedding scene, and I think they just spent way too much time at the wedding, and I just thought like this is just filler now at this stage, and there's not really a lot going on. And I understand that whole thing is like it's very cultural for that side of the world, but I'm just like we're like at the end of this episode is us reaching the halfway point of the series, and nothing happened in that episode except for maybe the last 2 minutes of the episode. We got a little bit of action. We saw her starting to kind of understand the powers a little better, and she was doing some cool stuff like some jumps and kicks and using her power, but I don't know, like what's going on? There's nothing going on really, and it's just, I feel like we've only got 6 episodes and there needs to be more happening, and there's not. I presume next week she's going to travel to try and go meet the grandmother or whatever, and we might get some action there, and we're going to start seeing the transition of her moving into like her getting her costume and stuff like that and moving away from Captain Marvel. So like I'm kind of interested to see where it goes, but it's very extreme. It's extremely mid right now, and like my girlfriend even stopped watching it. She's like, you can go ahead and continue this one by yourself. Like she's like, after episode 2, she was like, I have zero interest in it. And like again, and I understand where she's coming from. It's very like even each week as we go on, it's getting more kind of CW teenager-ish. Like as we go on, like it started off really strong, I think, but each week it's getting a little more childish as it goes on, and I can feel myself aging as the weeks are going on. Like I'm getting a further and further disconnect from this content. So yeah, I hope it comes back around. I think we could be pleasantly surprised with maybe episodes 5 and 6. I think we could see some really cool stuff happen, some connective tissue. We might get Carol Danvers might show up. We could get I didn't even think about this before now, but we could actually get what's her name, Proton, the girl who was in WandaVision. I think she
Rambo.
Rambo, yeah, like Maria Rambo or Monica Rambo.
Yeah.
She could show up because she's been on the small screen, and then she's going to be in the Marvels movie as well, so it would make sense that she would show up. So there's could potentially be some really cool connective tissue happening, but at the same time, right now it's doing nothing for me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the interesting point about that is that we kind of learned a sort of like kind of origin. They're not of this world.
Yeah, they're Jinn. They're Jinn. Yeah, and I actually that was interesting. I'll admit that was interesting. When I found out that the whole family were Jinn, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But that was it, and that was at the start of the episode. So it's like, okay, there was like a cool 2-minute like dialogue scene at the very start, and then it just went on to boring stuff, and it just kind of became filler.
Yeah. And I feel like when they were talking about them being Jin, it kind of felt low key. And I think in other Marvel movies, when they give a reveal that like, you're actually this, you're actually one of these, they do like a cool CGI sequence that takes you into that world and like sets it up in your imagination to kind of show you, like, you know, when they do the Black Panther stuff, they had all the sand stuff going on. It like shows you what they're talking about visually. And this one just kind of had dialogue about it, and it just didn't feel like it like impacted. I was like, all right, they're fucking Jin from another universe, so like, big deal. And I wish they would have expanded on that. One of the things I did see that people pointed out on the internet, the connective tissue stuff, the tomb at the very beginning where they were, you know, they got a bracer from and stuff.
Yes.
There was actually a large 10 ring symbol on the ground that they were standing on. So a lot of connective stuff to Shang-Chi, which like the bracelet and like the 10 rings kind of like, you know, they seem like they might be connected in powers at the very least, you know, it's otherworldly.
Yeah, I don't know if it's down to potentially like TV budget stuff to why we didn't get that scene that you're talking about. I think that's probably what it is. Now, maybe we do get that when she probably meets her grandmother. She'll tell her the story of how they came to be and so on, and we might get a glimpse into it there. But I think it's going to be very quick preview, maybe a couple of shots. Whereas if this was a proper kind of Hollywood movie, I think we'd be getting, you know, what we would be expecting to see, like a proper origin story, them arriving to Earth. Like I feel like we might not even get that, and that's kind of strange to think, right? It's like we might just have to imagine what that looks like in our own heads, and that's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, and I think we need another montage of like, you know, training or something, because of course she's still kind of at the stage of I barely know what my powers do.
Yeah,
I barely know how to maneuver around areas. I can barely save a life, so like she needs the proper training, and hopefully her grandmother can get her that.
Yeah.
And I have to agree with Hoffman on this one. The introduction was a bit lackluster because of the fact that, you know, we've had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and, you know, Peter gets told that he's a Celestial, and he's like, what? And then he's like, yeah, I'm going to show you right now. And then they do this moment of like try to imagine getting this energy like showing from your hand, and they didn't do that with Miss Marvel, and it felt like really disconnected. It was just this moment of like, I'm what? And then it just cuts to like later on. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that fight scene at the very end was honestly one of the most weirdly edited fight scenes I think I've ever seen in my entire life. It felt so awkward. The timings were all off. It was really amateur editing in my mind. And I think that was like kind of a low point of the show for me so far, where I was just watching that fight scene. I was like, what are we doing? Like, what is going on? These Jin characters, I also wish like we would have seen them being more villainous. Like we need like a big thrust in the show to kind of like wake it up a little bit. Like something big to happen. Like, hey, this is why you're watching. Here's something big that happens, and the next 2 episodes are going to be like the fallout from what happened here. And it feels like we're just going to once again get a Disney Plus show where they hold that big reveal, that big action thing for the last episode, and then the series is over, which is like my biggest problem with Disney Plus shows is that's how they write them. And I can't stand it. Like I hate that about Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
Do you think they're afraid to hit Kamala, like Iman Vellani, like do those scenes where it gets serious and she actually gets struck? Because I feel like in terms of both Tom Holland's character and Iman Vellani, because they're supposed to play as young characters, I don't really remember Tom Holland's Spider-Man getting hit in the face as much.
He gets fucked up at the end of Homecoming, though. You know, when they're on the beach and all, he's in pieces, like, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, though, about her character. Yeah, it's a very valid point. Like, do we want to see grown men punching around a little teenage girl? Probably not. Like, you know, it's not really.
Speak for yourself.
It's
that'd be awful. But
no, of course.
That's a good point, though. Yeah.
But it's superhero content at the same time. Like, you know what I mean? If you were watching a young, like, Catwoman story, like Selina's gonna get like the shit kicked out of her in an alleyway, it's bound to happen, like, you know, so it's part of the growing experience. Like, so I think I understand what you're saying, and with the way the world is that we live in right now, you know, it's not surprising that could potentially be what they're trying to do. You know, they're trying to protect her, whereas realistically she's a superhero. Like, this is bound to happen. Like, they get bumps and bruises and scrapes, and it grows them as characters. Like, you know, this needs to happen.
Well, and then you see also, like, near the end of it, when she actually gets hit in the chest, that bangle is her body armor. It's covering her. So, like, she can get struck, and that thing's going to block for her.
Yeah.
So, like, it should be this. It should be this moment of like she gets hit so hard that that it breaks, but it like maybe puts force and she doesn't actually get hit, but it breaks the armor and now it's not there, and that makes it more concerning. It's like, oh, now she can actually get hurt, and so that would be like a very like intense moment that I want to see. But as far as we know, like she can't get hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Fun fact for you, actually, just before we wrap up this video, but the dude who plays the best friend, Bruno, I can't think of the actor's real name, so I apologize if you're watching, sir, but he was apparently in the running, like almost cast as Spider-Man. He nearly got the role from Tom Holland. What do you think of that? Like, could you picture this kid being Spider-Man?
He had the exact same voice. Like, I swear he sounds just like Tom Holland in terms of Spider-Man.
Really?
I think I could picture him as being Spider-Man. I also think that if he was that close to being chosen for Spider-Man, he probably should have turned this role down.
Yeah.
Like, you go from almost being like one of the leading men in Hollywood to like a sidekick on a TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably had another shot at something in the MCU. Like, there's probably something else coming along down the line that you probably could have gotten. Because we've seen that type of stuff before, especially like in DC. In the Batman, we all know the stuff about who almost got the role for Batman. And
Cillian Murphy, yeah,
Cillian Murphy. And he shows up as Scarecrow. Like, there's cool stuff that happens if you say no.
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think you're probably right, and especially with realistically down the line, we're probably going to get a Young Avengers team or something. So maybe he could have held out for a Young Avengers spot or something, but who knows?
Can I just say, I don't think we're going to get Young Avengers, because by the time they get it going, they're not going to be young anymore. It's going to be forever, bro. All these people are going to be grown up.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? It's taking forever.
It'd be like the Titans team, but they just skip the Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Maybe they'll be the next Avengers. Like, maybe they'll call them the next Avengers.
Maybe.
Oh, man, maybe.
I don't know. Well,
but imagine Young Avengers, and then you have like this dude with the 5 o'clock shadow. He's like, "Come on, guys!"
Yeah, kids out there smoking cigarettes.
Yeah,
let's go.
Love it. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. So if you like the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you're thinking about Miss Marvel. Are you liking it? Are you not? Are you gonna continue watching it? And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Later, everyone.
Later.